Hello and welcome to LFC Focus. So a little bit of news coming your way today. Coming up later in the video, we've got Sadio Mane's potential new contract. We've got Liverpool returning to pre-season training in their camp at Evian in France, and a little bit of transfer news coming up as well. But first things first, the top story of the day is that Ben Woodburn has pretty much completed a loan move to Sheffield United, and I think this is good news for all parties involved. I mean, it's the right move for Ben Woodburn, definitely. If there's one thing I've said about him so far in pre-season, it's that, you know, he's been incredibly talented and we've seen that in flashes. We know he's a really, really good footballer and an incredibly bright prospect for the future. But I think one thing that's really missing from his game at the moment is in-game intelligence. You know, sometimes he just takes up positions where he's not really able to do anything effective, and it's something that can only come with playing regular football and not just at the level of the under-23s. It needs to be competitive football at a first team level. So I think the Championship is the right place for him to be playing right now. Obviously, there would have been some concerns if we'd sent him out last year to a Championship club, because at the time he was quite young, he was very slight in terms of his frame. He wasn't necessarily a fully grown adult athlete by that point, but one thing that we have seen as well in pre-season is that he's very obviously bulked up. He's put in a lot of hours in the gym and stuff like that, and he's a proper big fella now. You know, he's not huge, he's not, you know, Peter Crouch or Emil Heskey, but he's a reasonably big lad, and I think he's now at the stage where he is physically capable of handling the demands of the Championship. So yeah, I think it's a really, really good move for him. I think one positive that Liverpool fans can definitely take from this is the fact that it definitely seems like Sheffield United is gonna be the right club for him. We know now that Jurgen Klopp basically rejected proposals from Aston Villa and from Wigan as well for the player. Essentially, it was all about game time pretty much, because Aston Villa, they look unlikely to sell Jack Grealish at the moment, and that's essentially the same kind of position that Ben Woodburn will be playing as an advanced midfielder or a second striker or a more sort of orthodox number 10 kind of figure in a system. If Jack Grealish is going to be at Aston Villa, then that would have dramatically reduced Ben Woodburn's playing time there. It sounds like he's going to get a lot of time playing at Sheffield United, which is obviously the priority of this loan, is to get him playing regular first team football. And also in terms of playing style as well, it sounds like Jurgen Klopp has sounded them out as the kind of team that would really, really suit him in terms of developing him and getting him used to the style of play that he'll need to be doing at Liverpool. So apparently they are a pressing side, they are a creative side as well, they work hard on and off the ball as well. So all the kind of attributes that he's going to have to work on if he is to make the grade at Liverpool, and by the sounds of it, they look like they are going to be making some sort of promotion push, because that is also something important as well, that he is competing at the very top level of the Championship, because that's the kind of thing he'll be doing at Liverpool, where he is expected to win games week in, week out. So yeah, I think this is a really good move. Like I said, it suits all parties involved. Sheffield United will obviously be chuffed to get an incredibly talented young player on their hands. Hopefully he gets the minutes and the experience that he needs to succeed at Liverpool, and like I said, for him, it's always good for a young player to be playing regular football. And I think the only thing now is that, you know, he just does well. That's all we've got to hope. We have to hope essentially that he does a similar thing to what Harry Wilson did last season at Hull City, where, you know, there's a lot to be said about just a player playing well and doing well and looking like they are fitting into a side, but at the end of the day, it does all come down to goal return and assist return. It comes down to that end product at the end of the pitch, and that was something that Harry Wilson did really, really well at Hull City, and that's what got him noticed. And at the end of the day, even if he doesn't make it at Liverpool, the fact that he did so well at Hull City and will hopefully do well at Derby County as well probably means that he will have a lot of suitors should he be put on a for sale list by Liverpool. And Ben Woodburn's just got to try and get himself into a good position there, and like I said, it is all just about that goal return at the end of the pitch. So next up, it's looking increasingly likely now that Sadio Mane will sign a new 5-year deal at Liverpool. It's probably going to make him one of the top earners at the club should he sign it, and all in all, really, really good news. I mean, obviously it hasn't happened yet, and apparently there's no huge rush to get it done because he still has 3 years on his deal, and apparently there is a really good relationship between the club and Mane, and more importantly, the club and Mane's agent as well. Obviously it's the same agent that handles Naby Keita as well, so all the communication lines there are very, very friendly. So, you know, it is very relaxed at the moment. It might not be something that gets done this week, this month, or even maybe until January or something like that, but I certainly wouldn't worry if it doesn't get done soon, because the news is suggesting that Liverpool have got the offer on the table. Sadio Mane is very happy here and he wants to sign the contract. It's just probably minor stickling points about wages and appearance fees and goal bonuses and all that nonsense that we never really hear about that actually matters a lot to people like the agent. So yeah, that's all really, really good news. I mean, it's fantastic that we've got, or will hopefully get, all three members of our front three tied down to long-term deals, because I think one thing that we've certainly benefited from this summer, and it was something that was picked up on by the Liverpool Echo in an article yesterday, is there hasn't really been any transfer sagas at all, certainly in terms of players that are in the squad already. Obviously, we've had the stuff about Alisson, we've had the Fekir stuff, which is held a little bit of a cloud, maybe more over the fan base than the players or anything like that, but the fact that there are no people within that Liverpool training camp that are causing a problem, stinking out the atmosphere, constantly going up to the boss and putting in transfer requests and saying, oh, I want to leave. You know, we haven't had a Phil Coutinho situation, we haven't had a Raheem Sterling situation, we haven't had a Luis Suarez situation. We've pretty much been fine on that front, and I think that's really helped in terms of the mood around the squad and helped boost the morale and keep it at a high level going into the new season. So I think that is really, really fantastic, really, really useful for Liverpool, and it should be the norm that is the situation. That should be something that we're looking to get boxed off for every single summer. We shouldn't be going into summer worrying about transfer sagas, and we almost did this summer. There was obviously talk about Mane to Real Madrid or Salah to Real Madrid. It was interesting that a report came out in the Daily Express today as well, basically saying that before Salah did sign his new contract, he was approached via his representatives by Real Madrid, basically saying, do you want to come and join us? Do you want to play for Real Madrid? You know, we're a massive club. Why don't you come and be a Galactico? And that's essentially what prompted Mo Salah to sign a new contract, because he thought, actually, I love it at Liverpool and I want to stay here. And all this stuff around the contracts is essentially putting together the idea that Liverpool are no longer a stepping stone club. We don't want players like Phil Coutinho at Liverpool anymore. We don't want players who are going to come here and think, I'll play well, I'll build myself up, like Emre Can as well, and then get a bigger move to a bigger European club. That's not how Jurgen Klopp wants players to see Liverpool. And from what we've seen so far this summer with these contracts, that is exactly what's going on. And obviously, it's great to have Mane tied down, because at the end of the day, he is one of our best players. He deserves to be one of our highest earners. He actually deserves to be on the same wages as the other members of the front three as well. I know he did kind of, people talked about him falling off last season. I think the first half there was a bit of an adjustment period and he wasn't quite hitting the levels that we've seen him hit at Liverpool, but certainly in the second half of last season, and especially in pre-season as well, he has looked absolutely fantastic, and it does feel like he is starting to take his game to the next level. You know, he is a creator and a goal scorer, and that's something that's really important to us, and I think he will be an absolutely huge player for Liverpool in this coming season. So fingers crossed we can get that deal done and over the line very soon. So next up, like I said at the top of the video, Liverpool have started their 5-day training camp in Evian in France, and of course there have been some new arrivals. Roberto Firmino and Alisson Becker have joined up with the squad, which is absolutely fantastic news. Obviously, we're all excited to see Roberto Firmino. There are still question marks over whether he will start on the first day of the season. Obviously, he had a long World Cup. He had a very long season for Liverpool last year where he was a hugely important player for us, and I think he did drop off ever so slightly for the last month or so. He started doing things more in flashes and in spells rather than having brilliant full 90-minute performances. So there are still question marks, and it's something that we'll hopefully see a little bit more of an answer to in those games in pre-season against Napoli and against Torino. We'll have a good way to gauge where Roberto Firmino's at and whether he's fit enough to go into the season all systems go, or whether he needs to be eased into it a little bit more. But obviously Alisson, I think he's a goalkeeper, and you still got to be careful because he is a sweeper keeper. The last thing we want is him flying out of his area on the first day of the season and pulling a hamstring and being out for months or anything like that. We want him to be in prime condition, but I think it's highly likely that he will definitely start in that first game against West Ham. And I think it's really good to have an all-round high-quality squad, because when you think about it, these players are essentially playing against each other a lot more than they play against opposition teams. So if Firmino and Salah and Mane are coming up against a top-class goalie in Alisson and vice versa, they're only going to get better because they're going to have to raise their game to deal with those kind of situations. It's kind of probably a similar thing happened when Van Dijk came in as well, in that those attackers had to learn how to deal with one of the best centre-backs in the world, and that only makes them better players. So I think it's really promising that we haven't just got a top-heavy squad. It's not all about the attacking talent. We've got a really, really solid defence as well that is going to test those attackers and vice versa in training. And I think it's a good thing as well that, you know, as much as we love seeing the team play pre-season friendlies, we always love watching Liverpool play, and it's great to see these new players gelling into the side as well. I think it's probably good that they've essentially got a week off. You know, Jurgen Klopp spoke very positively about this training camp in Evian and said this is his favourite part of pre-season because there's no matches getting in the way. There's no media duties. There's no sort of big tours to try and promote the club's brand. It is just about the football, and it's about getting the team ready. And I think hopefully with these games against Napoli and Torino, that's where we'll see a significant step up, and we'll start to see Liverpool playing at the level that they will be hitting when they start the Premier League campaign. So yeah, Firmino and Alisson back. It's been great to see pictures of them in training. The only sad thing is it does look like Firmino has ditched his silver hair, which upsets me because I thought it looked really boss. It suited him in a weird way, but never mind. The most important thing is that they are back in training, and that is a fantastic thing. Next up, Divock Origi is potentially going to get a move away. It's been reported that Besiktas are interested in taking him, but the one caveat, the one stumbling point is that they are only interested in taking him on a season-long loan at the moment. Obviously, we know that Liverpool want to sell the player on a permanent deal for £27 million, which is a little bit steep, but you know, that is almost the going rate for strikers these days. You see players who have scored like 5 goals last season. Hell, we've seen Richarlison, who scored 5 goals last season, go for a maximum fee of £50 million at Everton. So I think Liverpool are entirely justified in asking for £27 million for Origi, a player who, you know, has underperformed recently, but has still got an awful lot of raw talent in his game. So apparently Besiktas are going to try and wait until later on the window to try and almost force Liverpool's hand, because obviously we do want him gone by the end of the window. We need to get rid of him to raise funds, but that is the obvious problem there, is we want to get rid of him to get some money in the bank, and if they're only taking him on a season-long loan, that doesn't suit us at all. We want to sell him for £27 million. So one to keep an eye on, but it is going to take someone to blink first in that situation before we see any real progress. And then Pulisic, a player that has been linked a little bit with Liverpool this summer. Apparently it's very unlikely that he'll be leaving this summer, but with his contract only having 2 years left and the likelihood that he may not actually sign a contract extension this year, it's looking more and more likely that Dortmund may be willing to use his services for the next 12 months, but then potentially cash in on him in the next transfer window. Obviously, we know that Liverpool have been interested in the player. We know that Jurgen Klopp likes him from having used him as an academy player in his time at Dortmund, and I think if he were to leave, we know the Premier League is his preferred destination as well, and I think if he were to join the Premier League, if he were to come to England, then he would be stupid not to choose Liverpool, essentially, because they are a fantastic team. The only other suitor at the moment is Chelsea, but who knows what situation they'll be in by this time next year, because they are a very, very turbulent club, and like I said, he will want to work under Jurgen Klopp as well. So I can certainly see that one happening, but I think it's very unlikely it'll happen this summer, and that's not necessarily a huge problem for Liverpool, because Jurgen Klopp did come out in an interview and basically say that he's not looking for a Phil Coutinho replacement. He's not looking for someone who can actually fill that role, partially also because Phil Coutinho is an incredibly unique player, and I'd say the only players that really come to mind who kind of fit that mould are either Nabil Fekir or Kevin De Bruyne. You could maybe argue Paulo Dybala, but he's more of a striker or a second striker than an attacking midfielder like Phil Coutinho was. So it's very difficult to find exact replacements for Phil Coutinho. Obviously, we almost did that with Nabil Fekir before that deal fell through. So maybe Jurgen Klopp is lying through his teeth when he says he doesn't want a Phil Coutinho replacement, because that's essentially what he was trying to do with Nabil Fekir. But it does suggest that we are probably done with our business for this summer transfer window. And it was also nice to hear that he said he doesn't want to see his players being seen as the new Phil Coutinho. He doesn't want to look at Oxlade-Chamberlain or Lallana or any of those attacking midfielders and say, you are replacing Phil Coutinho here. That's probably a good thing, because I think our system actually is better without Phil Coutinho. I think Oxlade-Chamberlain is probably a better suited attacking midfielder within Jurgen Klopp's system than Phil Coutinho was. So I can see where Jurgen Klopp is coming from there. So it's a very interesting one, because I think we do still need a backup attacker, whether it's a Pulisic type player who's a more natural winger, whether it's a Paulo Dybala type player who's more of a striker, or whether it is a Fekir type player who is more of an attacking midfielder as well. It remains to be seen. I'm still hoping we do some business there, but it is looking very unlikely. I mean, it was recently confirmed that Fekir will be returning to Lyon training on Monday, so, you know, maybe we get some Keita or Van Dijk style antics there, where, you know, last summer Keita was stamping on people, he was sitting out training. We had the same thing with Van Dijk as well after he put in a transfer request. So who knows, if Fekir really wants to force through a move to Liverpool, he could start to get a little bit proactive on the training ground, let's say, regarding that. But if I'm perfectly honest, I feel like this one is probably dead in the water. I mean, reports in France have also suggested that he's more likely now to sign a contract extension than to leave Lyon. I think a lot of that is due to the fact that Liverpool have just cooled their interest to below 0 degrees Celsius on this one. They have basically seen the medical and thought, actually, we don't want him because we don't want an injury-prone player, which is a shame because, like I said, Fekir would have essentially been perfect for us. It would have been fantastic to have him in the side. But I think Jurgen Klopp has taken a tough decision, but will probably end up being the right one. And to be perfectly honest, if we did sign another attacker, then I wouldn't be worried about Fekir at all. It is just that there is a slight hole in the squad where I do think we need one more backup player. But who knows? Maybe that could be Lallana. Maybe it could be Sturridge. Maybe it could be Shaqiri. Jurgen Klopp has probably seen many more things in training that we will have ever seen as Liverpool fans. So, you know, if he thinks we don't need a new attacker, then I think it's fair to trust him on this one. So yeah, that is all for today's video. Thank you guys very, very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, then why not give it a like? If you're new around here as well, hit that subscribe button there. Check out some of the other videos that have been out on the channel over the past few days as well. Don't forget to follow at LFC Focus TV on Twitter, and I'll be back soon, hopefully, with some more transfer news. Bye for now.